Hey, awesome pre-calculus students. All right, this is Mrs. Tran-Bloom. We are going to continue with notes from section 6.2. Remember in class, we completed example 1A and example 1B. So for this video, we are going to continue with example 1C. 1C is giving you a point. So let's recap of the direction. A point, which is called P, with the coordinates x comma y, it's on the unit circle. Because it is on the unit circle, we know that the radius for these problems is going to be 1 unit. Find the exact values of the 6 trigonometric functions for each point. Okay? So because we are completing part C today, I'm just going to zoom into part C, which is right there. Hopefully focus. All right. So part C is giving you a point. The first thing you might want to do is give it a little sketch. So a little sketch. Plot it out. So when x is 0, we're staying at the origin. Y is 1, so we're going to go up 1 unit and plot a dot. Okay? If this dot is here, keep in mind that this is a unit circle, so if you wanted to, you can even do a little sketch of a circle. Okay? So because we have this dot on the circle, we know it's on the unit circle, so we know for sure the radius is 1 unit. In addition, we know x coordinate is 0. Y coordinate is going to be 1. This is a quadrant angle. Okay, this angle, it has an angle. It's from here to here. From here to here, it's actually 90 degrees, or pi over 2 radian. Okay, so it's we can say in degrees, which is 90 degrees, or in radians, pi over 2. So this is the information, okay, we gather from just one dot. Now if this problem said, hey, go and find my 6 trigonometric functions, so sine of theta, in this case we do know exactly what theta is. Theta is actually 90 degrees. Okay, so but we're just going to write theta for now. Sine of theta is going to be y over r, or because it's a unit circle, it's just going to be y. Y in this case is 1. So we'll fill that in the box. Then we're going to work with cosine of theta. Cosine of theta is going to be x divided by r. Well, in a unit circle, radius is 1, so it's the same as x. Okay? And x is going to be 0. Then we're going to continue with tangent of theta. Tangent of theta is going to be y divided by x. Y is going to be 1. X is going to be 0. Well, 1 divided by 0 is undefined. And later, we're going to see what makes it undefined. Okay, or what is it going to look like as an undefined location. So when the input is 90 degrees, the output for tangent is not possible. It does not exist. Then let's go and find, these are the main 3 trig functions. We're going to go find the reciprocal function for sine. Reciprocal function for sine is cosecant of theta. And people get these confused. Okay, they want to think that reciprocal of sine is secant. Not really the case. So I kind of teach my brain to say, hey, you know, the opposite of S is C, the opposite is S. Okay, so if you want to look at the reciprocal function of cosine, it's going to be secant. So that's how I kind of think of it. So reciprocal of sine is cosecant of theta, which we're just going to flip 1. When you flip 1, you're still going to end up with 1. Reciprocal of cosine is going to be flipping 0. So what you need to do is 0 is now 1 over 0, because when you flip it, you put it underneath 1. Well, that's going to cause an issue, because anytime you have a 0 in the denominator, it gives you undefined. So right now, secant of 90 degrees, or in this case we're using theta, it doesn't exist. Okay? Then we know the reciprocal function for tangent is going to be cotangent of theta. Cotangent of theta, you can think of it as x over y, or you can just go and flip this right here. See this right here? Okay? Because you would ask yourself, well, how do you flip undefined? Well, to have an undefined first, the denominator is 0. So you can just go and take it and flip it. You can write 0 over 1. 0 over 1 is okay. $0 divided by one friend. Your one friend is still going to have nothing. Okay? So that's what. These are all the 6 trig values that we have from our 6 trig functions from this quadrant angle, which is pi over 2, if you want to label it. Okay? All right. Keep in mind, on part B, we plot a dot here at 1, 0, and this degree is actually 0 degrees. So this is, we're going to keep on going until we hit a full circle. Okay. All right. Now, if you're falling behind in copying because I'm going too fast, please do hit pause and then give yourself some time to finish copying. As you guys are writing this down, let me give you a joke, okay? Have you heard the joke about the butter? Have you heard the joke about the butter? You know what? I better not tell you. It might spread. Get it? Butter spread? I think that's pretty funny. But anyway, I'm a pretty geeky person anyway. So most things are pretty funny to me. All right, let's go do this one. You are given a point, -1, 0. So give it a visual. Okay. Let's plot it when x is -1. So from the origin, you're going to go -1 to the left, and then you're going to go 0y, which is staying at the location. So think about this as a circle, because it says this dot is on the circle. Keep in mind it's a unit circle. Unit circle means the radius is 1 unit. Okay. X is, in this case, x is -1. Y is 0. Now, let's think about this. From the standard position, and if I want to travel here, can you tell me how big this angle is? This angle, okay, let's call it theta. Okay, this angle, let's call it theta. It's actually pi radians, or 180 degrees. So when we're working out our 6 trigonometric functions, we are actually calculating what sine and cosine and tangent and cosecant and secant and cotangent of 180 degrees is. Okay, so that's exactly what we're trying to do. So the first thing is, but right now we're going to keep theta as theta, okay, or 180 degrees I meant as theta. So sine of this dot, so because we're just pretending we don't know what that is, but we do know how big this angle is. So sine of theta is going to be y over r, which is really y because it's a unit circle, and unit circle radius is 1, and our y happens to be 0. So we're going to box that up. Cosine of theta equals x divided by r. In a unit circle, r is 1, so it's the same as x, and x happens to be -1. Box that up. Next is going to be tangent of theta equals y divided by x. Y happens to be 0. X happens to be -1. 0 divided by -1, it's okay. You can have 0 as an answer. Don't be scared. Okay. Next is I'm going to do the reciprocal function of sine. So why don't you tell me what the reciprocal function of sine is? Did you say cosecant of theta? Yay! Okay. So that's going to be r over y, or really 1 over y. Okay. We know y is 0, or we can just flip this if you really wanted to. So 1 over 0, which is never okay with 0 being in the denominator. Then the reciprocal function is of cosine of theta is secant of theta. Oops, I want to put a c in there. So secant of theta equals, if you were to flip it, that means it's going to be positive 1 over -1, which I'm just going to flip this, which is really going to be just -1. Then I'm going to work with cotangent of theta, which what I really want to do is x divided by y. And then all I do again, if you wanted to, is flip this. Okay. X is going to be -1. Y is going to be 0. And is it okay to have 0 in your denominator? No way, right? So that's going to be undefined. Alright, take a second to copy it down. Alright, let's move to E. Let me just unclip my paper. I wonder if I have enough room for E. What's behind this? Okay. Alright, ready? E, I'm going to use a different color pen just because I feel like I might be messy. Okay, is that enough space? Okay, let's draw it out. So we're going to plot 0 and then -1, which is down here. Okay, so that's 0, -1. Red doesn't look all that great, isn't it? Okay, I'll just stick with blue. I'm going to make a unit circle. See that right there? If I make a unit circle, then I keep in mind radius is still 1 unit. X is going to be 0 according to my X and Y rectangular coordinates here. Y is going to be -1. Okay. Now, if you are down here with the dot and we're starting from the standard position and we're traveling this direction, can you tell me how large this angle is? Let's call this angle theta. How large is theta? I hope you mentioned 270 degrees. In radians, it's also known as 3 pi over 2. Okay. So right now, when we're calculating the 6 trig function for this dot, we are actually calculating a 6 trig function for 270. Isn't that awesome? So let's do sine of theta, which is really representing this dot, cosine of theta, tangent of theta, and then we can calculate the 3 reciprocal functions after. Sine of theta, by now, we're just going to write y. Okay, we've done a couple of problems now to know that it's the same as y on a unit circle. So y happens to be -1, and we're going to box that up. Cosine of theta is now going to be the same as x, and x is the same as 0. Okay. Tangent is going to be y divided by x. Have you noticed that y, since it's sine, and x is cosine, have you noted that's also the same as if you were to do sine of theta divided by cosine of theta? Yeah, right? It's crazy, because sine of theta is -1, which is the same as y. And cosine of theta is 0, which is the same as x. And this is always true. Tangent of theta, it's always sine divided by cosine. Well, is this really possible to have 0 in your denominator? No. So tangent of 270 degrees, or tangent of 3 pi over 2, it's not possible. It's undefined. Okay. Okay, so let's find the reciprocal function of sine. Can you remind me the reciprocal function of sine again? Did you say cosecant of theta? Oh my goodness, you are a genius. Okay, so let's flip this. I'm going to go, hey, when I flip that, that's really +1 over -1, which is going to be -1. Then the reciprocal function of cosine is going to be secant of theta equals. Okay, 0 is a little bit tricky, okay? So if you think about 0 over 1, so now it's 1 over 0. Guess what? It's also undefined, the same as tangent of 270 degrees. Then the last one is cotangent of theta. Okay, so let's look at this. Cotangent is the reciprocal function of tangent. Tangent was y over x, so cotangent is like x over y, which, if I'm really stuck, I can actually use sine and cosine. X is cosine of theta. Y is sine of theta. And this is always true. If you don't have x and y and all you have is sine and cosine, you can find cotangent easily. So cotangent is cosine divided by sine. Okay, cosine is going to be x, which is 0. Sine is going to be y, which is -1, which you do have an answer of 0. Oh, barely made it. So those are our 6 trigonometric functions. Let me just zoom out to have a big picture here. Let's recap. Okay. We started with the 0 degrees, okay, which is the same as 360. Then we moved to 90 degrees. Then we continue with 180, and then we ended with 270. So if you look at this, we kind of went the entire circle on the quadrant angles, okay? We also did a problem that's not on a quadrant angle. So right now, you know how to find everything on a unit circle, okay? So let's flip the page and fill out this chart. And then this is the last thing we are going to do today. All right, y'all. You are given degrees. These are the quadrants angle. Degrees is 0, and radian is 0. Degree of pi over 2 in radians is going to be, oops, I just gave you the radians, didn't I? Degrees is 90 degrees, and radian is going to be pi over 2. Degrees is 180, and radian is going to be pi. Degrees is 270. I'm going to ask you to fill this out. I'll circle this, and you're going to have to fill it out on your own. Okay? Let's go and fill this right here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 boxes here. I'm going to do 4, and then your job is to fill out the other 2. So sine of 0 degree, it's going to be 0. Cosine of 0 degrees, it's going to be 1. Your job is to fill out tangent. Cotangent of 0 degrees is going to be undefined. Secant of 0 degrees is going to be 1, and your job is to fill out cosecant. So these are the empty spaces right here that I'm leaving behind. Is your job to fill it out. Okay. Right, 90 degrees. Oops. That is the bell to conclude 5th period. All right, so 90 degrees, sine of 90 degrees, it's going to be 1. Cosine, your job to fill that out. Tangent of 90 degrees is going to be undefined. Cotangent of 90 degrees is going to be 0. Secant of 90 degrees, this is your job to fill out. But cosecant of 90 degrees is going to be 1. Okay. Next, 180 degrees. Sine of 180 degrees is going to be 0. Cosine of 180 degrees is going to be -1. Tangent, that's your job. Okay. Cotangent of 180 degrees is going to be undefined. Secant of 180 degrees is going to be -1. Cosecant of 180 degrees, that is your job. Okay, next, sine of 270 degrees, that is your job. Cosine of 270 degrees is going to be 0. Tangent of 270 degrees is going to be undefined. Cotangent of 270 degrees is going to be 0. Secant, that is your job. Cosecant of 270 degrees is going to be -1. Okay, so hopefully you have enough information from our previous notes to fill in the rest. Okay, or you can also look at these and look at the given information and go backwards and forward. to find the missing spot. And yes, you do have to have it all filled before I give you a completion stamp the next class. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in class.